Well, my parents both modeled civic engagement. They helped with the candidate, Kennedy. They helped with his campaign.
I ask your help in this campaign.
They were both LULAC members. Do you recall LULAC? It was like one of the very first Latino organizations back in the day.
This organization has done a good deal for this state and for our country, and I'm particularly glad that it emphasizes the not only opportunity for all Americans, the chance to develop their talents, education for boys and girls so that they can pursue those talents to the very end of their ability, but also because you remind Americans of the very important links that we have with our sister republics in this hemisphere.
And they both worked in the nonprofit field. My dad did grant writing, and my mom worked for a nonprofit that provided social services for low-income people. So they both modeled civic engagement, being involved in politics and within the Latino community. And then my dad was very involved during the Chicano movement. So he, along with a group of other Latinos, they helped co-found a magazine called Consafos. I don't know if you recall Consafos magazine, but it was their outlet as writers and as activists to tell stories about the Latino community that wasn't being told in mainstream media. So they helped found that magazine. Unfortunately, it didn't last that long, but it was something that he was very proud of. And my dad went to college later in life. Once he got out of the Navy, while they were raising us, my siblings and I, he went to college and he got his degree at UCLA. So not USC, but UCLA. And he, like I said, he worked in the nonprofit arena, and he just felt education was really an important aspect to help advance advance his family. And he would go not only for us. So we were raised with the expectation that after high school you go to college. So after elementary school you go to junior high, after junior high you go to high school, and then next was college. So that was just the expectation for us, and pretty much that's why I went to college. And then anytime he would meet somebody and he'd see their potential, he would convince them, you really should go get a college education. That's going to help you, advance yourself and your families and overall our community. Yes. So they used to call him the unofficial Barrio Scout. And so he would sit down and talk to the kids, and then he would talk to the parents, and he would convince the parents that their kids had every right to get a quality education as much as anybody else, and that all they had to focus on is getting accepted into a college, that the university had to figure out the financial part of it, working with the parents. It's the economic equalizer, it really is for the community, and it's like the first step in really being able to even contribute more to your community. Yeah. It's creating a culture where education is critical, and then creating a culture of philanthropy, right?
Yes.
Giving back as well.
Yes.
And my parents kind of modeled that, and so although they didn't really necessarily say, this is what you have to do after you get out of college, you have to give back to your community, they modeled it, so it was something that all of us were compelled to do after we graduated. There are a lot of resources, like at all universities. I think one of the challenges we have is our kids are now getting into college, right? Sometimes you see more females going to college, more female Latinas going to college than the male counterparts. But once they get into college, there's a lot of resources that I think sometimes we don't know how to tap into. So there are organizations at each university that can help them. It's a matter of taking the risk of asking for help. And a lot of times our kids aren't taught that. You know, that culturally we're not taught that if you want something, you need to ask for it. You know, it's not just going to come to you, but you need to go after what you want. And there are a lot of resources out there that can help our community take it, you know, advance as much as any others. Well, you know, I hear a lot of stories about immigrant families and parents that even though maybe they have a 3rd or 4th grade education, when they come to this country, you know, they come with that idea, that thought that they want their kids to get educated, and in part it's what we talked about. Even though they don't have that education, they see what an education can do, and they're bringing their kids to the United States so that they can have a better life, and education's a key factor in that. So I see a lot of that already, but there's a lot of still very traditional families where it's very difficult for example, the father to let the daughter go to school, or where, you know, they want their son, you know, to work with his hands. So I think, you know, in today's society, there's an opportunity for all of that, because you need all kinds, you know, you need people that are mechanics, you need people that are on the vocational side, as well as, you know, getting a higher education. But I think in terms of, it's harder if you don't. I mean, if you want to really advance economically, then an education gives you that little bit more of an edge. So I would just, you know, encourage, you know, families to really encourage your children to pursue a higher education or a vocation where they're getting the training they need in order to be competitive in today's environment. And just because you have an education, if you don't have some other skill sets, it's not a guarantee that you're going to succeed. So you have to get in, you have to work hard, you have to take measured risks, you have to let people know what you want. It's more than just getting an education. It's knowing what you want and what your skills are, and using almost your God-given gifts in order to advance and help others. Well, for me, every job that I've taken, I look to how can I grow as an individual, and I have an accounting degree, so innately I'm pretty introverted. I'm not really that outgoing. It's worked for me to be outgoing, but what I did in my career is I told myself, okay, well, I'm introverted. What job will force me to be you know, to challenge me to grow and be more outgoing? And so that's kind of what I do. I try to challenge myself to grow and to be a little uncomfortable, because when you're uncomfortable, you're growing, right? So it's about, and I know that sounds kind of like a cliche, but it's about finding what, you know, fulfills you, what will help you continue to grow, and then just to kind of balance everything in your life. That's really important as well, because as for Latinos, family is very important. So how do you balance, you know, having a career and having a family, and making sure that, you know, you're working for your family, not the reverse, right? Just always working without balancing the family part of it. So that's a key part in for me, having a fulfilling life.